Hi, welcome to my video for T1 in Underworld Speed Clear. The armor you will need is 5 Blessed Insignias, a headpiece of Inherent +1 Expertise, a +3 Expertise rune, a rune of Superior Vigor, and of course 3 runes of Vitae. The weapons you will need is an Insightful Staff of Enchanting with the inscription Have Faith, Energy +5 while enchanted, a sword, axe, or spear of enchanting with the inscription Energy +5, a shield of devotion with the inscription Leaf on the Wind for +10 armor versus cold damage for the cold fires, a set of low requirement vampiric daggers of enchanting with the inscription +15 damage while enchanted. Wintergreen daggers also will work for this. You also need a vampiric longbow of enchanting with the inscription I have the power, Energy +5. The skills you will be using are Shroud of Distress, Shadow Form, Dwarven Stability, Whirling Defenses, Shadow Walk, Shadow of Haste, Heart of Shadow, and Death's Charge. Your attributes will be set to 12 Expertise, 3 Dagger Mastery, and 12 Shadow Arts. The pecons that you will use for this run are Cupcake, Candy Apple, War Supplies, Pumpkin Pie, Golden Egg, and candy corn. I also use lunars for this run, but they are not necessary. I just like to have them for that extra dagger mastery. So at the start of the run, much like every other Underworld run, you step backwards out of the way so you do not pull aggro from the foes that the T2 and the LT will be balling for the quest. After the LT takes the quest, they will start to pull the groups on the left-hand side of the chamber, whilst the T2 will jump up to the Achi at the top of the stairs and start to pull the groups on the right-hand side of the chamber. They will then ball the foes at the right-hand side of the stairs that will be shown on the left-hand side of my screen in just a few moments. However, unfortunately in this run, our LT got stuck and happened to die, so the T2 had to solo ball, so it's a little bit messier than usual, but you get the general idea. Once the T2 and the LT have balled all the foes, you will be able to slip past all of them on the right hand side and make your way to the door leading towards the next area. Like I said, the LT died in this video, so it does take a few seconds more for the spike to kill all of the foes. During that time, we can talk about your role as the T1. So your first duty is to pull and hold all of the aggro in the next room. Then you will head towards Wastes, obviously clear all the way up to the Reaper, pop the Wastes Reaper, take and complete Wastes quest, and then clear the path leading towards Doom. This will make the run significantly easier and faster at the very end for all of your team, as there will be no annoying cold fires waiting on the path to hex your team members that do not have shadow form. Plus, everyone will appreciate you much more if you are able to successfully complete solo quest as well as clearing the path. When the doors do open, you can cast Shadow Form, Shroud of Distress, Dwarven Stability, and then as soon as you get in aggro range of any foe, you can use Whirling Defenses. In this area, it is your job to aggro all of the foes, that is the 2 groups of Achi and the group of Graspings that spawn. Unfortunately, in this run, because those Achis did aggro on me earlier, they are now bugged, but because they are bugged, they won't cause the other terrors any problems, so that is okay. The skeleton, as well as the Dying Nightmare that sometimes spawns at the Graspings in this area, do not matter, as they will break aggro very quickly, and they will not follow you all the way into Wastes, but they will also not follow the other terrors. This means that it's okay to drop Shadow Form until you get to Wastes. As you enter the Wastes, swap to your longbow, target a smite, and DC to it. This will put some distance between you and the melee following you from the previous room. However, I don't recommend you DCing to the smites if they are all on the wall, as this can lead you to becoming easily body blocked. As you enter these Coldfire's aggro range, cast Shadow Form so they do not cast on you, and then move to this spot to recast Shroud, Dwarven Stability, and Whirling Defenses while bowing the farthest Coldfire. After the farthest Coldfire has moved into your aggro range, you can use Heart of Shadow on it to hoss over the smites that will have balled around you, and then run sideways through this corridor to aggro the next group of Coldfires and the smites that spawn nearby. If the smites at the south end of this slope are too close to the king spawn, you may have to aggro them to prevent them aggroing on the king when you take quest. This was all up to your judgment and will come with experience. However, in this run I was very lucky and did not have to aggro them. I bring them to this spot and right wall block them so that they are in range of this next coalfire group to aggro on me. I stand here and whirl them down. After they are all dead, I continue to walk backwards or sideways and continue down this hill towards the first skeleton. I swap to my daggers for that little bit of extra DPS and healing while killing it. You do not need to Death Charge or Heart of Shadow off of the skeleton unless you absolutely need to, and make sure you don't do it from a distance so that you don't lose the coldfire aggro. After he is dead, you can continue to walk backwards down this slope, and as you can see, I've already aggroed the coldfires that usually patrol on the bottom end of the slopes. I then walk backwards towards the Reaper spawn where the terror webs are, hossing off of these coldfires to bring them back a little bit, and then proceeding up to where the terror webs are spawned. As you get in range of the terror webs, you can target one of them and use Heart of Shadow to aggro them, making sure you aggro the smites at the same time. To do this, you may sometimes have to use your longbow to auto-attack the smites. I then right wall block them on this wall. Often the bugged drider will come and stand on top of me as well, and die straight away. I notice that the coldfires are patrolling down this hill, and so I decide to aggro them as the skeleton is not nearby. This is just extra fuel for my whirling. I then whirl down the smites and proceed to whirl down the terror webs. I then wait for one moment for the bugged drider to unbug and come slightly closer to me because I don't want to drag all of the coldfires too close to Reaper spawn. I whirl it down and he dies easily. I then decide to wait a minute because I want to have a fresh whirling to cancel my Shadow of Haste for quest pull. After the terror whip is dead, I move back to the spot that I like to stand in before I take a quest. I try to show you in this video, this little corner of the cliff is where I like to stand. I then target the farthest coldfire, make sure I have a fresh shadow form, and then use Shadow Walk and Heart of Shadow immediately so I do not get Frozen Burst on me. I then walk backwards, pulling all of the coldfires with me, waiting for the groups that will run down the cliff to me again, and then get them all in this central area. I then stand roughly on top of the first skeleton spawn, press V to target the Reaper, and then use Shadow of Haste, immediately pressing spacebar to push me towards the Reaper. I take quest as quickly as possible, and then use whirling defenses to put me back down where I used Shadow of Haste. I then re-aggro all of the coldfires that I can, and put myself on top of the first skeleton spawn. The first skeleton will die almost instantly. I then change to my longbow to make sure that I can aggro all of the terror webs that will spawn, and run towards the second skeleton spawn. I always like to aggro the first white rider spawn before moving to the second skeleton. The second skeleton will die just as easily as the first. Then I like to round up my aggro a little bit and make sure that I don't miss any terror webs that spawn. When I am confident with my aggro, that I haven't missed any groups, and that I know the ones that are spawning next will be close to where I am, I like to target the skeleton and try to get close to it. In this case I saw him running, so I panicked and used Death Charge, but it was totally unnecessary. I then decided that it was time for him to die, so I just walk close to him, and a couple seconds later he's dead. Easy as that. After you've killed the 3 skeletons, that's the hard part done. You then have to just kill all the white riders and as many of the coldfires as you can. So in this video you can see I try to shift my aggro a little bit to get all of the coldfires together without killing all of the terror webs, because you do still need to clear the path to be a good T1. I try to kill as many coldfires as possible, but then I decided it's just not worth it and I decide to bring them up the cliff with me. The reason you need to kill the coldfires separately from the terror webs is because they cast spells under Aura of Restoration and just have a generally larger health pool. That means that if you try to whirl them all together, all of the cold fires will stay alive because they heal themselves, and all of the terror webs will die. And that is not good, because you do need as many terror webs as you can get to clear the path on the way to doom. Once you have killed as many cold fires as you can proceed up the hill where we originally aggroed that last group of cold fires. There will be one skeleton, a group of smites, and 2 groups of cold fires. However, like I just said, we've already aggroed one of the groups of cold fires, so there is just one remaining. As I aggro the skeleton, I walk towards him, and all of this aggro I still have on me almost instantly kills him without any need for self-healing. I swap to my daggers for that extra damage I mentioned earlier, and I decide to whirl down the smites while I'm here as well. You do not have to whirl down the smites, as they generally won't get in the way of the team on the way to doom. However, I know the team is not going for a record run, so I just decide that I might as well kill them. I then make my way towards the last group of patrolling cold fires that I need to kill, but unfortunately in this video, one of my other cold fires broke. In retrospect, I should have left him, as generally one cold fire won't make a big difference, especially because it looked like he was not going towards Reaper spawn, but in this video I decided to kill it. It just slowed me down by a couple of seconds. If I had let him go, it would have made very little difference to the end of the video. Also, because I noticed this cold fire was now separated from the terror web group, I did decide to kill him as well. This is also mostly unnecessary, as I will be killing all of the cold fires in just a few minutes. Once he's dead, I then continue my way up the path towards the last group of cold fires. As I aggro the last group of cold fires, I immediately walk right up to them and start to whirl them down. I do swap to my cold shield again just to minimize the damage from frozen burst, but it doesn't matter all that much. As these cold fires get low on health, I do notice that one of my other cold fires decides to break again, but as the last group of cold fires are already dead, I can just DC right to him and make sure he dies a very quick and painful death. Once he is dead, I do my best to separate out the other cold fires and kill the last of them before I kill all of the terror webs. As I can see, this is the last cold fire. I don't mind if there are 1 or 2 terror webs getting damaged as well, as they will all be dying in just a few moments. Once all of the cold fires are dead, I try to make the terror web ball as tight as I can. I then target a central terror web and death strike into them, ensuring that I'm hitting even the farthest terror webs. As you can see, they all die reasonably quick, and I get an ecto, lucky me. Then, to finish the quest, you do have to re-enter the king's aggro back on the hill, so I do run back down to complete the quest. This will spawn the spider that you will use to glitch at the top of the cliff for the rest of the group to use to get to doom quicker. As I re-enter the king's compass range, you can see the quest updates and completes, and the Black Widow spider spawns. I use Heart of Shadow to aggro it, and then walk backwards to pull it up the cliff. I do walk backwards because the spider tends to have very small aggro range, and even walking sideways can sometimes break it. With this build, it is super easy to glitch the spider, as I have Shadow of Haste, which allows me to take my time and get the spider in a position I think is good, and then just use whirling defenses to get out away from it, and it will just stay exactly where I left it. As you saw, I used Shadow of Haste while walking up the cliff, and then I use whirling defenses to put myself back down at the bottom. My job as T1 is now complete, so I decide to just pick up all of my loot and wait for the rest of the team.